This weekend, a bunch of people in San Francisco vandalized a Waymo, setting it on fire. This was before San Francisco lost in the Super Bowl. And the craziest thing about this story, this wasn't even the worst news of the weekend for Waymo. A Waymo also hit a cyclist. So let's turn to Omar from Holmar's catalog, get a breakdown of the story, and then let's get into the implications for Tesla.
Meanwhile, Waymo hit a cyclist in San Francisco. It sounds like the cyclist is okay, luckily. Minor scratches, so that's good. It seems like it was a low speed incident in the Portero Hill neighborhood. And I don't think their permit's going to get pulled over this. If you remember, Cruz's permit really got pulled over the lying. It wasn't the accident, it was the lying. After that, I don't think Waymo's going to lie. I expect them to be fully transparent, and I don't expect this to be a pull the permit kind of moment based on what I'm seeing. The person who was hit seems to be fine. The passenger seems to be fine. I wouldn't be surprised if they sued Waymo or something just because they could probably get a huge settlement. But it seems like everything is kind of okay. We can't really expect self-driving cars to have zero accidents. All we can really hope for is that they dramatically bring down the rate of accidents. And Waymo's done some good independent studies with insurance companies and others that suggest that 80% of injury causing crashes are reduced by self-driving cars. And I believe them. You can just see based on how it drives. It just drives much more carefully than a human would. Almost, too carefully, really. So that's kind of interesting story that came out that happened Tuesday evening, but it may sort of internally affect the leadership's thinking in terms of their rate of expansion. Right now, they're open to the public in one market, which is the Phoenix metro area, and they're invite only in San Francisco and Los Angeles. So they are expanding. Hopefully, at some point, they're actually able to open to the public in San Francisco and LA. But the management's very cautious. They're not aggressive at all, the way that Elon is or the way that Cruz seem to be. They're very kind of like, look, if this takes 50 years, whatever. So I could see this kind of incident maybe slowing them down a little bit potentially. And I'm interested to see more footage of the incident or anything else that can kind of suggest what the problem is, right? Because just going back to the perception discussion, right? This was the big thing. Do you need LiDAR or do you not? And what this incident really shows is you need intelligence to avoid hitting people. Your perception is actually, you can have a range of perception capability and probably achieve autonomy. But what you need is the intelligence to say, okay, this truck is passing me, but I need to make sure there's nobody behind the truck, right? So again, you can have this great perception system, but LiDAR can't go through a truck, right? Only intelligence can make you understand that there could be someone behind that truck.
So the question is, can Tesla achieve intelligence? Well, in May 2022, Elon tweeted saying he'd be surprised if we don't have artificial general intelligence by 2029. And we know in August, Elon said, I think we may have figured out some aspects of artificial general intelligence. The car has a mind, not an enormous mind, but a mind nonetheless. And look, guys, I'm skeptical to say that a car with a computer chip inside of it will be capable of intelligence, but that doesn't mean that I don't think cars will be able to, Tesla cars, look at a truck and consider that something may be on the other side of that. And that's because of the new end to end system. The new V12 FSD system is being trained on videos of humans driving. And what do humans do? They slow down when they see a big truck parked on the side of the road because a little kid might run out on the other side of it. And so, if FSD V12 is being trained on this footage, it's also going to slow down when there's a big truck on the side of the road. Look, I'm going to strengthen my argument by taking you back to Omar, and he's going to talk about a similar scenario with potholes and speed bumps.
Yeah, it's a day and night difference on speed bumps. It handles every speed bump and it goes at a much more proper speed. And it can actually vary the speed depending on the shape and size of the speed bump. Also slows for like dips in the road and puddles. There were some puddles in the road, it slowed for the puddles. So it can literally see a puddle in the road and just lower its speed slightly. Not like too much, but the proper amount. It's really good. And this is the benefit of the end-to-end system, right? So with the old architecture, we'd have to say, okay, now we need to train a puddle detector. Now we need to train a dip detector. Now we need to train a speed bump detector. And you have to manually think of all the things that people could possibly slow for and then try and train a detector for it and curate that data set. Okay, we need bigger puddles, smaller puddles. What a fucking nightmare, right? For the team. No wonder they didn't add all this stuff. Now you just say, hey, just look at the video and figure out why people slow. And just look at all the reasons people slow and kind of come up with a general model for it. And we don't have to explain to you what things people slow for. You just look at the data. It's like, boom, light bulb.
So with enough training data, you can see, I think this is going to work, but I'm not going to call it intelligence. It's more imitation, because the question of whether a machine will ever be able to think has been explored for a long time. John Searle was an American philosopher who conducted a thought experiment known as the Chinese box. In the experiment, an English-speaking man is placed inside a room and receives a question written in Chinese. He must reply using a book of Chinese symbols that will give him the answers he needs to respond in a way that makes sense. The recipient of the English speaking man's reply should not be able to tell that he doesn't speak Chinese if he uses the book correctly. The English speaking man represents a computer in this scenario because he did not understand what he was being asked, even though he could respond correctly. Thinking requires understanding, and to think in a linguistic sense is to evaluate different options in an effort to respond with the best one. Machines do not understand, and like the English speaking man, they have predetermined responses. Therefore, machines cannot think. Now, you might say computers have vision now, and they can form word to world relations through images. Once it recognizes an object, it remembers its outward appearance and the name associated with it, exhibiting the ability to learn. And you might say that to learn is to understand, and to understand is to think, meaning that if computers could learn, that would portray some form of thought. However, I do not think that computers learn. I think they only remember. And to remember something doesn't necessarily mean that you understand it. For example, when you type something into Google and it makes a suggestion to you of what you're trying to search based on your recent searches, that's Google remembering data. It's no different with a vision-based robot. It remembers the appearance of a pig from the last time it looked at that data, so now this time it remembers what a pig looks like, so it kind of knows that it's a pig. But it doesn't really know what a pig is, it's just pulling data from its database. That is why Tesla needs so much compute. To be able to drive on the roads and imitate humans, you need huge amounts of data to draw from. This is why V12 is so much less complex than V11 and all of those hundreds of thousands of lines of codes. But this is a good sign because simplicity is often a sign of the future. Now, as you saw this weekend, a Waymo was vandalized in San Francisco. So what are the implications for Tesla? Well, this user says, this spells trouble for Elon's plan for a fleet of robotaxis, or FSD. Since Elon has become one of the most hated CEOs, it will attract lots of vandalism towards robotaxis. Ultimately, robotaxis may fail in the US as repairs become too costly. I disagree with this statement because what Tesla is actually trying to provide with robotaxis is really cheap rides for consumers. The cost per mile to travel is going to drop significantly, and consumers are going to appreciate that. Maybe not all of them, but 99.9% of them will. The people who aren't going to like self-driving cars is obviously taxi unions and taxi companies and taxi drivers. This user writes, the US union leadership hates the idea of self-driving, so expect more vandalism. People doing the vandalism don't realize these cars are far safer than human-driven cars and would likely choose other targets if they could. Guys, this is a long list of people who are not going to like self-driving cars. You have insurance companies, you have parking lot companies, you have, I don't know, taxi unions, ride sharing platforms, collision repair shops. These people are all suffering business losses from this innovation, from this uprising of self driving cars. I mean, if you think Elon Musk has it bad now, just after disrupting the automotive market, you haven't seen anything yet. Dan O'Dowd yesterday published a $7 million Super Bowl ad telling America to boycott Tesla and Elon Musk's products. These people are spending obscene amounts of money to try to put Elon Musk down, and they're framing it as if he's evil, etc. But in reality, Elon Musk is threatening their business. And to continue to make these hit pieces in order to misinform the public about Elon Musk, that's actually evil. So, a Waymo was set on fire. A Waymo hit a cyclist. What does this mean for Tesla's future? Well, I think it just reminds us that there's going to be a lot of bumps on the road. What we're doing here is extremely influential, and I'm extremely excited about the end-to-end system, and that's why I created these t-shirts. The future should look like the future, and a lot of people are trying to stop that from happening. Here's the back. I really like the back. I worked hard on the design, so you guys can find a link to these t-shirts down in the description. They should show up as beautiful little icons, and if you become a member of the channel, you will receive a 10% discount. So I'm going to head to the park because I've been inside all day making this video, and it's always raining in Vancouver, and today it isn't. So while I'm at the park, I just hope that I come back to a ray of sunshine in the comments. Hundreds of thousands of new subscribers. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and goodbye.